this week has been very busy. And last weekend, we went to the retreat and the women's retreat, and so I didn't really have a day off, and it's just been busy, busy, busy. But getting ready for the ministry fair, as you can see, was all outside. I made those cookies, and it's like, it's amazing that just a few things mixed together can be something so really decadently good. And as I was making them, and I'm just thinking, Lord, a lot of things that have God in it are like that. They're decadently good. And I think that I just was thinking about and believe it or not, I did get up at 5 o'clock this morning to bake those. And so, but yes, I promised I was going to make them. Well, that meant because last night I was watching baseball and didn't make them, so. But it just kind of dawned on me this morning as I'm watching the sun come up, and I'm just thinking, so many things with just a few simple things are so decadently good. And so I just was real thankful. And that was a little God moment. The sun was coming up over the clouds, and I was, no, actually the sun came up around 6 something. So I was in the dark at first, and then I was okay. So, and then, and the whole house smelled so good. It's just like, whew. So that was my God moment.
All my life, what I wanted most was get married, have a family. And it just, I have my son now, I'm grateful for. But over the last few weeks, this really should have been shared last week. I saved it because I wasn't here. But over the last couple of weeks, I've been talking to some friends of mine back in Oregon. And they're, one of them's divorced. I guess both of them are divorced, just one's longer. And they're talking about online dating, and I'm just like, that's how it goes anymore. And I'm like, I don't have the capacity for that. I don't care anymore. I've got my son, we're good. And it's been such a long time that I think I've just kind of started to give up hope. And I was like, I don't have time. I don't have room for a distraction, any of that. And so I just kind of have been going on in my life, and I'm like, you do you. That's cool. I'm not interested. So then, and also too, you all know Phoenix, and he's a joy. He's super, super smart.
He's scary.
And, my dad is genius level. My uncle, my aunt, everybody in our family on the low side of the family is very intelligent. And so it skips, and everybody's just like, oh, of course, your dad is really smart. And so anyways, I was at school studying a week ago Friday, and I was having really bad allergies. I think there was smoke in the air too or something. Everything was just bad. And so there was this other man that was working on his computer, and he was taking business phone calls. And I said, I'm so sorry. I'm not sick. I wouldn't come in here if I were sick, but just so you know, it's allergies. So he started giving me all of this information, and he was obviously scientific and medical and very smart. And I find out later, he came over and talked to me a while later. We ended up talking for 4 or 5 hours through that afternoon about everything and anything under the sun. And it was super comfortable, and it was just it just kept going. And he is really, really, really intelligent. He has 2 master's degrees and a doctorate. And he has taught at universities. And then he says to me, so he's a man too who does not know my child or anybody in my family. And after our 4 or 5 hour long conversation, he said, it has been such a pleasure. I do not run into people like you. He goes, you are wicked smart. And he said, seriously, Harvard and Yale, that's what I expect to find you at. And it was just super, super encouraging. I left, and I was driving in the car, and I was like, that was somebody who doesn't know my life. They don't know me. And it was just I felt seen. And then I felt later that night, I watched a movie that had nothing to do with anything. It was, but I just had all of these emotions, and I just started bawling. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? And I felt like God was just reminding me not to give up and not to lose hope. It's okay to be focused on what I need to focus on. But he just reminded me that it can happen in a moment and the snap of a finger. He can do whatever he wants to do. So it was just really encouraging to keep going. It was special.
This last week, we had a visit from some friends of ours from our Air Force days way back that we met when we both had small children, and we lived in Korea in tiny little apartments far away from home. And they're the kind of friends that we don't see very often, but when they, and I think we figured out it's been like 10 or 12 years since we've seen them. But we can pick up right where we left off. But my friend Courtney, when she retired, they were both also Air Force colonels, and there's not a lot of couples that you can relate to like that in the Air Force that are in your same situation. But Courtney in her retirement did not take the easy path that I did. She went back to school and became a Presbyterian minister chaplain. But they were here for 2 days, and it was just talk the whole time. And we went on this long, lovely walk, and I just was really struck with how the things that she said, and she's just super, super intelligent, and just was able, and said some things in just a way that the same things, but that I really hadn't seen before, and it just really struck me that I think, God sometimes just puts people there that you need at that particular time, and it was just it just really sort of renewed my soul to have a good friend that, like you said, I felt seen.
Well, the kids wanted me to do this one, so we recently got a tiny puppy, and we've never had one before. We've had a dog, but never a puppy, and this one has been of course, the kids are really excited, and it's been unexpectedly sort of joyful for me, a lot of work, but just brought some real lightness. So, half Chihuahua, half Corgi. We don't know what it's going to look like, so.
Good morning. In case any of you didn't know, I get to work at a golf course now for 3 days a week, or at least while I'm here in Prescott. So I've been doing that for however many months, probably about 3.5, 4 months. So the good thing is I get to work at the golf course. The bad thing is that I have to be there at 5 in the morning. I work on the maintenance crew. And I'm not what you would call a morning person. And I don't think any of the guys I work with are. They're a bunch of grumpy old guys like me. So the thing about it is, as the time changes and all, I have to work in the dark. I have to get up, have to work in the dark. And the bad thing is that you work in the dark. The good thing is that you get to find or watch the sunrise every morning. And this week we had the last supermoon, as they say. I think they always put a label on just about everything. It's the last or the first or whatever. But one of the days, I don't remember which one it was. I think it was last Monday. The sun or the moon was setting. It was big as the sun was rising. So you get to see both of those. So I make sure that I at least stop and note that that's part of the job. So.
And with a little bit of smoke in the air, it makes them even more beautiful. Confess, I have actually had quite a few God Spottings this week, but the one I want to share with you happened last night. As you know, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Dodger fan. And yesterday was a seriously bad day for the Dodgers. Our ace, Clayton Kershaw, gave up 6 runs in the first inning before they pulled him. It didn't get any better. They ended up losing 11-2. And and it was kind of tough. And of course, in our family, I have to admit that we don't just call them the Dodgers. They're those damn Dodgers. It's just, they will let you down because they do it all the time. But last night, as I was kind of contemplating this kind of feeling about, you guys, how can you do this? I realized that Clayton Kershaw is 35 years old. And he's the same age as my son, Andy. And I thought to myself, how would I feel if my son, Andy, had kind of failed in such a public way. And I just thought, I can't be mad at the Dodgers when I think about the fact that almost all those players are my kids' age, and realize that, and that's how God feels about us. You know, we do screw up and make bad choices, and yet God just loves us. And that's kind of the way I felt about the Dodgers last night. I just thought, all right, you guys, go to bed, get a good night's sleep. And tomorrow's a new day, and that's what God says to us every single day. And so that was my God moment of just knowing that, you know, I still love him.
I had switched jobs at one point. Now I am at Michael's, the art store. That job is absolutely, I mean, even though it's retail, it's where I should be because I do art myself and I appreciate being around one of, others who are, are artists of all type. One of the benefits that I am finding of it, the blessing I am finding of it, the diversity that comes into my shop. Just this last week, I had an Islamic woman who was head to toe in her burqa, and she even told me which robe it was she was wearing, and I told her I was very happy that she taught me. I have had Native American people who were very, very open about that. I have had many LGBTQ wearing their pride wear and everything. It just gives me, it's a blessing to me to see and be able to reach out to all of our God's children, from all around, the spectrum. And that just, it's a blessing to me. It's a God spotting every day to see all of this diversity.
And you get to help them.
So mine's quick, and it actually just happened. But some weeks we have kind of like the Dodgers, where it's just not the best week. And everything that can go wrong is going wrong, or it's going right in some areas, and like just trying to hold. So I had finals this last week, and so it was final projects, and it was like all encompassing because there was a lot. And so holding that together, everything over here falls apart. And so just sitting here when you said so is there anybody with God spotting? In my head, I just instantly go, I'm alive. I made it through the week. And I feel like God was like, that is a God moment. Like that is, no matter what we have going on, no matter how much we fall apart in front of people or whatever, it's like God is still here. He's still present. And sometimes making it through the week is just a bit of a miracle.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I don't know how many of you know that I work in recovery. And we work with about 120, 30 people at a time. And we had a young gentleman that decided it wasn't for him. Mm-hmm. And so he kind of got a little angry and got ready to leave. And as he was leaving, one of the staff members noticed that there was a dime on the ground. He said, wait a second, I want you to have this dime. And it was a heads-up dime, and I don't know if for some of you know that means good luck, like an angel's watching over you. So the young man stopped, put the dime in his pocket, and then proceeded to go to one of our local stores, convenience stores, and bought himself some liquid to self-medicate. And while he was sitting outside that store, consuming that liquid, another gentleman came up to him that looked like he had been kind of in the same position for a long time. And he came up to this young man and he said, what are you doing? You don't look like you belong here. And he said, well, I just left treatment. And the gentleman, instead of asking to share the liquid refreshment with him, said, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to get back into treatment. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting goosebumps. The young man did exactly that. Called up the staff, got himself back into treatment, and was able to kind of recognize that if not for stopping to pick up that dime if not for this gentleman who had said, out of his own wisdom and knowledge, to get back to where you need to be, that yesterday he wouldn't have been as happy as he was to be in a group of people that were supporting him in his journey. So I get to see God Spottings a lot, but that's just one of them, just to give people a sense that it just takes a moment to encourage people to do something to better themselves.
Yes, Gary and I had the opportunity in the last few days to be in Phoenix, and our daughter is sponsoring a Ukrainian young woman for over a year now, and she was instrumental in putting on a benefit along with other people for Ukraine children. And so Gary and I, had the whole experience of going to this special place where it was held in a beautiful venue, great master of ceremonies, but the heart-wrenching stories that we heard and saw of Ukraine and the children, but then the hope. There is hope. The children, there were Ukrainian children that danced and sang for us in Ukraine, or which would be Russian, I guess, and very, very special and great stories about, how this money will help them go to camps that are just positive, so that instead of all the negative, but looking at the good things that are going on, to be happy, to have fun, and to play, and to have joy, so that money will help these children. But it was a great experience for us to be there, the stories and the films, and then the children and the music. So we pray for Ukraine and all that they're going through. Thank you.
Well, I had a really good day yesterday with my great nephew.
Ooh.
There's a new baby in the family, very young, and it is really good to see that Jace is doing so well with this baby. It's I was worried at first. It's like, oh, he's going to be jealous or something like that, and just from the second he saw his little brother, he's just been.
He fell in love.
Yeah. He really likes him. He's been very positive about everything, and it's just great to. He's an only child for a while, and we thought that was the way it was going to be, and he really, he's really come around. He's making good progress. He's a good kid, and I'm very happy to be his great uncle.
My love to you, my son. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, there's something about a new baby that just changes all of us. That's just like this bundle of hope right there. There's just something about it. I told some of you heard my God spotting this morning if you were at the congregational meeting. We were blessed to be able to get the eclipse viewing bags from the library. And in them, they had the funky little paper glasses that had, and so we were able to sit on the deck and just watch the amazing eclipse going by yesterday morning. And that experience really made me kind of understand that I am a speck, just a speck of dust in the world, and that the whole universe is an amazing, complex, wonderful thing, and that even though I am of such little significance, God knows every hair on my little head. And so it was wonderful. It was a great experience for our family to sit and watch together and just kind of bask in the glory of just natural things. And so that was how I felt particularly close to God this week, was in that time of the eclipse. And made me laugh and made me think about the years, many years ago, when the boys and I poked a hole in the cereal box to make our viewing. The little glasses are way funner because you can really look up there and see.
As some of you know, I work part-time for the Office of the Bishop, only through the end of this year, because then I'm retiring for good. For both Grand Canyon Synods and Rocky Mountain Synods. Wednesday, I flew up to Denver for some meetings with Rocky Mountain staff and Synod Council and was scheduled to be there through last evening. And Thursday afternoon, I was in a meeting, and Glenn called, which I let go to voicemail because I was in the meeting. I'm like, he's just checking in. Well, then I got a text from him that said, when you have a minute, call me. I was in an accident. Yeah, panic. So I called him right away. I'm like, meeting or not, sorry. He'd been mountain biking and fell. Thankfully, he wasn't going fast, but dislocated his shoulder. And, yeah. But here's my God spotting. As he was walking his bike off the trail, a couple of hikers came by, said, let me help you. So one took his bike, the other one walked with him. A couple other mountain bikers stopped, said, how can we help? And so they got his bike on the back of the Jeep, secured, got the Jeep locked. The hikers took him to the ER. They offered to stay, and he said, no, I've got people I can call. So I called Pastor Tricia. She came and sat with him in the ER, got him home, went to the pharmacist to fill the prescriptions for pain meds, and then Janet and Mike came and got the keys to the Jeep, went out to the trailhead to get the Jeep, got that back. No, actually, the Jeep was at the hospital. Oh, was it at the hospital? Yeah, somebody drove it to the hospital. Oh, it must have been one of the hikers then that took him there. Okay. Well, anyway, they got the Jeep back to the house, took the bike and the bike rack off, because it's going to be a while before Glenn goes biking again, got that all put away. I am just so thankful for strangers who offer to help, for our community here who has been so helpful. I was able to stay for my meetings on Friday, and I moved my flight to a very early Saturday morning so I could get back here earlier yesterday than was planned. But it just did my heart such. After I got over the shock, I was like, okay, this is going to be okay. He's at home. There's people that are watching over him. So that was my God spotting. Thank you.
It's so funny, I got to the ER, and I got there, and they were trying to take an x-ray of him, and he said, oh, no, they haven't done the reduction yet. So the x-ray ladies went away, and then they came back, and they said, they have to. So he didn't even remember getting it put back in place. So, but which is a good thing. I don't think that anybody else want to remember that. But yeah, we are so blessed to have such a great community of people that care for us, and even strangers will step in and help. So thank you.
I will just, we don't have enough time for all of that. But what I will say, my last one was, as she was talking about God knows where we have been and where we are headed. At that moment, I was thinking about the omnipresence of God, the ability to be everywhere at once. And as she said, he knows where we are headed. My line of vision where I was staring is right there on that board where it says, I am there. And I just thought I love that I am able to recognize God in my life today. And that's all I've got.
Well, I had an interesting week. It's been really busy. And on Thursday, Sally and I went and visited some church members who haven't been able to come because Bob has been quite ill. He's having chemo, and they just changed his medication. And so he's in this kind of transition time, which is really hard. And so they haven't been able to come to church. And so we went to go take them communion. And This is Pastor's Appreciation Month. I think it's just a Hallmark thing to get you to buy a card, because why pastors need an appreciation month, I don't know. But it's nice to be appreciated. But Bob told me something. He just said, they watch our service online. And we talked about how God Spottings are really great and how, they really remind us about God's presence. And he just said, he says, we watch online. And he said, I want you to know that you had a sermon he said, it could even have been a month or two ago, but you ended the sermon with this line, and it has stuck with me, and I think of it every day. And he actually said, I think I want it on my tombstone. And it says, and I'm like, I remember that sermon. It's been a while, but he said, God does amazing things with dust. And he just said that in the middle of this, very painful chemo time, that he reminds himself that even these hard times, when we're in the middle of the dustiest parts of our walk, that God does amazing things. And for me, that was like, who needs a pastor appreciation month? I just felt like, well, that was something, something I said a while ago has helped him through this journey. And I don't need to be more appreciated than that. That really just really touched me and reminded me that, God works through all of us, brings us into places and to be with each other. And Bob talks about how he has, through his whole cancer journey, has discovered that he has a new calling too, and that's helping people through this same journey. And so, like, he and Sally met when they were getting infusions and started talking and realized they went to the same church. But he just said, I can be in this place, but I've been in this place for a while. He said, I've been walking this journey, and I can help people who are just starting this journey to help them through too. And I can be there for them, and that can be a purpose, even at this kind of hard time in my life. And so it was a wonderful, wonderful, affirming time together, and we had communion, and it was my God spotting. Anyway, thank you.
Hi, I realized last week my wife reported on my little shoulder separation accident. And so I'm tired. Last night was the best night's sleep I've had in 10 days, so I'm better. But if I fall asleep, it's just what it is.
Just let you
but
sleep.
One of the things, this is a lesson and kind of a God spotting, is I was reading an article from somewhere about today's culture, people not choosing church, religion, church, spirituality. And one of the things he said, what they're missing is, they don't understand it, is that they're missing is community. You can do all this social stuff on Facebook, but when something happens and you need community, body, people, a church is an awesome place for that to happen. And so when I'm sitting there having my accident, and Good Samaritans got me to the hospital, to the emergency room, and Jan's in Colorado. And so who do I think, who from church that I can call to help me out of this situation? And so who do you think I called?
Actually, he called Tim.
I did.
But Tim was out of town too.
So anyway, the lesson there is the appreciation that we have for the church community. And people came, she made some calls, and so somebody showed up to get my Jeep from the hospital home and all of that. So I'm doing okay. I'll be fine in 3 months, but that's just where it is. So there you go.
So I make a little trip once a year to Sedona.
Sedona.
Around this time of year. So
a little closer.
Oh, sorry. So we were on our way to Sedona, and I had a blowout in my tire. And we were sitting on the side of the road, and I was so scared, and I couldn't believe that we were on the side of the road because I thought my tires were safe. I had just taken my car in, and I must have hit some debris or something. But my mom was with me, and it was about an hour later the tow truck came and changed the tire, and we went to go get new tires at the dealership, and everything worked out fine, but it was God that was watching over us. It was so scary.
So you're on the 17 when you blew it?
We're going down the mountain, the hill, like kind of up over the hill.
Yes. On the 17. That's scary. People driving 75 right by you. I'm so glad you're safe. Well, thank you so much for sharing. As I always say, the more we talk about God in our everyday lives, the more apparent God is. And so thank you.